Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jasodanandana Vraj Jana Ranjana Jasodanandana Vraj Jana Ranjana Jasoda Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Jasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Jasoda Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Tanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Jaya. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radhe Jaya. Jaya Lalita Visakha, Jaya Radhe Sham, Lalita Visakha, Jaya Radhe Sham. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट जयं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की। नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट जयं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत गोस्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद महाराज की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री उप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ षडगोस्वामी प्रभुगण की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी की जय। श्री वृंदा देवी की जय। श्री गंगा मैया की जय। श्री जमुना मैया की जय। श्री चतुर्मास्या व्रत की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री पतित पावन श्री हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की। श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की। All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guruvan Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloker Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So today I have been asked to give some enlightenment on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā chapter 15. Today we are discussing 19, verse number 19. So first of all, I will like to seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis, Hare Krishna, so that I will get purified by whatever little I have understanding about these words, and for my own purification and for the pleasure of our divine lordships and Srila Prabhupada and my beloved spiritual master, I will try to enlighten a few of the points of today's words. So you can Jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti puruṣottamam sa sarva-vid bhajati mam sarva-bhāvena bhārata. Jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti puruṣottamam sarva-vid bhajati mam sarva-bhāvena bhārata. Jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti puruṣottamam sarva-vid bhajati mam sarva-bhāvena bhārata. Anybody like to repeat? Jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti puruṣottamam sa sarva-vid bhajati imam sarva-bhāvena bhārata jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti puruṣottamam sa sarva-vid bhajati imam sarva-bhāvena bhārata. Mataji. Jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti sarva-bhāvena bhārata. Mataji. Jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti puruṣottamam sa sarva-vid bhajati imam sarva-bhāvena bhārata. So what meaning? Jaha, anyone who, mam, me, evam, thus, asammūḍhaḥ, without a doubt, jānāti, knows, puruṣa-uttamam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, saha, he, sarva-vid, the knower of everything, bhajati, renders devotional service, mam, unto me, sarva-bhāvena, in all respects, Bharata, O son of Bharata. So, the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Purport. There are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. Now, in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Kṛṣṇa to be the Supreme Person is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth, but the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Throughout the whole Bhagavad-gītā, this fact has been stressed at every step, and still there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad-gītā who consider the Supreme Absolute Truth and the living entity to be one and the same. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from the authorities like Kṛṣṇa and his representatives. Here Kṛṣṇa distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear like the hogs is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad-gītā that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Kṛṣṇa, knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of the Vedas. The word bhajati is very significant. In many places, the word bhajati is expressed in relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in full Krishna consciousness in the devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual process for understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth. He has already come to the point because he is engaged in devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds and thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that one has to surrender there, all his speculations for so many years and lives are useless waste of time. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshirunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radhacharan Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharin Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Destarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratasi Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Bhasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karati Vachalam Pangum Langheti Girim Yatkupata Mahavande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Sri Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Iswaram Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna. So, in this evening session, I first of all welcome all of you for your kind patience to hear whatever little understanding I have. Basically, I am not very good at scriptures, like Prabhuji is every day he is coming and attending the sessions. But we are very close to Radhacharan, right? Radhacharan is coming nearby. And recently, one important month was passed. What was that? Puruṣottamam, right? So the name of this chapter is Puruṣottamam. That is the 15th chapter. Very important one, isn't it? Otherwise, why in the most auspicious day, month, we are reciting every day? I hope most of you must be reciting all the 20 verses. It's a small chapter, only 20 verses are there, right? But very important. Why? Because you see, the difficult part of devotional service is not how to execute the service itself, but the difficult part is our past attachment. Because of the past impressions, we have so many, experiences in our previous lives that we have been attached to all these material concepts. So this chapter, in the initial part, if you see the beginning of this chapter, Krishna is describing this material world in the reverse banyan tree, right? You must be hearing, those who are every day attending the session. So there, in the 14th chapter, Krishna actually concludes with that sloka, which is actually this today's sloka, Jo mam evam asammūḍho jānāti puruṣottamam. So again that word is there, puruṣottamam. Sa sarva-vid bhajati mam sarva-bhāvena bhārata. Right? This is a very nice, very important sloka, because this sloka actually depicts, it indicates ananya bhakti, it's devotional service. And the 15th chapter, as you know, it can be divided into various sections. And today's verse and tomorrow's verse, means 19 and 20, this indicates, you see the text, the sloka, Jo mam asammūḍho, Jo mam asammūḍho, evam jānāti puruṣottamam. If you divide the sloka, Jo asammūḍho. Asammūḍho means the person who is not bewildered. He is not confused. He is never covered by Maya. He knows the thing as it is. Okay? So that person, what he can do? That mam evam jānāti puruṣottamam. That means he knows me as puruṣottamam. Purusha means enjoyer, uttama means he is the topmost enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer. He knows everything. That is why the next he says, sarva-vid. Sarva-vid means, vid means he knows everything. Sarvagya, we say sarvagya, sarvagyani. He is the knower of everything. Actually, Kṛṣṇa can't be, nobody can know Kṛṣṇa in complete. Why? Because Kṛṣṇa is unlimited, right? So nobody can completely understand Kṛṣṇa, right? So, but in this sense, that who has gone to a Brahmabhuta stage where he can understand Kṛṣṇa almost completely. Like Prabhupada says, Kṛṣṇa is ever expanding. He himself doesn't know how great he is. Like that it still suggests, though Kṛṣṇa cannot be understood fully, but almost, that is why he is using the sarva-vid. He almost knows everything. Bhajati mam. Once one knows Kṛṣṇa completely, then only he can do bhajan. Like so many people, they come to the temple, they just pay their obeisances, have some prasadam. Those who are fortunate, we conduct a very nice program in the early morning. Most of you must be aware. In Namahata office, we give them just about half an hour lecture about the holy name, we give them japamala and with them give them some prasadam, and most importantly give them this knowledge of Prabhupada books. So if they read that book, so they can be also qualified to bhajati mam. Kṛṣṇa is using specifically this word mam. Then what is the result? Sarva-bhāvena. Then how he does bhajan? When sarva-bhāvena. Sarva-bhāvena means in all means. See, there are 9 devotional processes, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasam, Saksham, Atmanidhanam. So those 9 processes, Prahlad Maharaj says in 7th canto. So those processes, or in different ways, you can understand all the 5 rasas, right? So he is using the word sarva-bhāvena. Bharata means Arjuna was born in Bharata dynasty, you know all this. Then Rusadev's son. So that Bharat Maharaj, his dynasty, Arjuna, the Pandavas, Pandu, and Dhritarashtra, they were born. So this is a very, as I said in the 14th chapter, Kṛṣṇa says, Jo mam abhyavicharena bhakti yogane sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhaygal. So Kṛṣṇa is using Brahma Bhuta stage. Once one comes to the Brahma Bhuta stage, then only bhakti starts. In the 18th chapter, 54th verse, Brahma Bhuta prasannatma nasachit nakankanti sama sarvesya budesya mad bhaktim lavati. So bhakti starts in Brahma Bhuta stage. So that here in this sloka Kṛṣṇa is emphasizing. So if I ask you whether knowledge about Kṛṣṇa is first or bhakti is first, it is a puzzle, isn't it? Because here we see many devotees, they come to the temple, they never go to the school. I have seen many, but they do wonderful chanting. They do nice deity worship, they do so many good cooking abilities. So that means in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kṛṣṇa tells Uddhava. So my dear Uddhava, don't think that, because Uddhava was very proud of his knowledge, He was a Jnani Bhakta, Jnana Misra Bhakta. He was not a pure devotee. That's why when he came to Vrindavan and he saw all the gopis, that topic is going on in Srimad Bhagavatam morning class, in the English class. So there, that photo is there. You can see Uddhava is reading the message. So all his pride was cursed when he saw the gopis, their mood. They were trying to forget Kṛṣṇa, And then especially when he saw Srimati Radharani, her mood and her devotion and the mode of separation, then he had a desire that let me be a. And now also if you see Uddhav Kund, just opposite the Kusum Sarovar, there also Uddhava is still present in the form of a what? Gulma. Gulma means a very small plant, So that all the gopis and all the Brajavasis, when they will go, they will trample over the head of. So all these prides were cut by Kṛṣṇa. So there we hear how a Jnani Bhakta, so unless one acquires the knowledge, here Kṛṣṇa is telling he can't understand me. So there are 2 things. One is knowledge, one is Jnana and Vijnana. Applied science. Vijnana means one has to apply it in your life. So unless you understand the scriptures, how you are going to apply? That is why Kṛṣṇa is saying, In the purport, if you read, Prabhupada says very nicely, don't try to hear like a hog. So I was just contemplating yesterday when I was going through the purport, why Prabhupada is using that word hog. And after that, if you see the sentence in the purport, Prabhupada says, one must understand Krishna. So understanding Krishna is not so easy. Prabhupada says many places. We think we know Krishna very much, but actually it's not so easy. That's why in Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, Bahunam janmanavante jnanaman mam prapadyante vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlava. So in the same context, Krishna says, in many births after passing and practicing devotional service, one can understand. Manusyanam sahasresu kaschit jatati siddhe jatatam api siddhyanam kaschit mam veti tato. So it is very rare. If you see Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion, in the first chapter itself, pure devotional service, anya bhilasita sanyam jnana karma anabhrutam. There he says, without jnana karma and anukilyana Krishna bhakti uttama. So there he says, there are 6 aspects, out of which the first one is klesagni. So pure devotion is so powerful, it removes all the klesa, all the sufferings. And also it is, the next thing is, it is very auspicious, subhata. And then he says, moksha laghuta krut. It is even superior to the moksha, liberation. And next is sudurlabha. It's very rare. So this is what this sloka says, it's not so easy. It's very rarely one can achieve the pure devotional service. Like Ananya Bhakti or Kevala Bhakti. So today we are going to discuss, and Prabhupada also says in the purport, in the entire Bhagavad-gītā, you will see many places where there is this Kevala Bhakti is glorified. Or Bhakti. Almost every sloka, Prabhupada says in the purport, almost every sloka in Bhagavad-gītā is the platform for the knowledge to understand Krishna. So understanding, it is not so easy unless you require a guru. You have to read the scriptures, not by yourself, by your own scholarship, then you will be speculating. That is where the warning is given by Srila Prabhupada. If you see Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary, he says, there are many philosophers, there are many philosophers, like there are 6 Sad-darsanas, right? They give their own view of understanding Krishna. But that is not acceptable. All the acharyas, they have condemned it. So we have to go through the parampara. Evam parampara paptam, evam rajarshe vidu. In the 4th chapter, 1st sloka. Krishna says, through parampara, all this knowledge comes. So unless one is attached to parampara, unless one is accepted guru, that knowledge he cannot acquire. So what the guru does is, there are Krishna's 3 principal, internal energy has 3 principal aspects, Sandhini Shakti, Sambhit Shakti and Allādini Shakti. Allādini Shakti is Radharani. We are going to celebrate Radhashtami. But before that, all the cognizant power of Krishna, that is the Sambhit energy, Divya Saraswati. And the Adhishtatri, Devta for that is Balabhadra. No. So how Krishna gives that, percolates that knowledge through parampara to the guru. Through parampara, Krishna gives to Vyasdev, and Vyasdev to Brahma, and Brahma to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni to, Krishna gives to Brahma, Brahma to Narad Muni, and then to Vyasdev, then Padmanabha, in that sequence. You have known that, 32, the parampara, it is there in the introduction of Bhagavad-gītā. So finally, through the Prabhupada, that is the 32nd, and then Prabhupada to his disciple, and then we acquire through that. So that is how Krishna is emphasizing the parampara. So why that parampara is broken? Because of these unscrupulous philosophers. They added or they subtracted something. They gave their own opinion. That Prabhupada gives the warning very strongly. He says there are so many commentators, and he compares them to Badabagni. If you read Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami gives a very nice comparison. He says the sea, the big ocean, there are so many aquatics. There are so many sharks, there are so many octopus, and so many sea fish and cucumber and varieties. But out of that, the sharks are very dangerous. They can eat. But those whale who remains very deep in the sea, they are not affected by these tiny fishes, right? So that's how the pure devotee, he is very deep into the philosophical understanding. Understanding means you require a guru. So unless that Sambhit Shakti gives that empowerment to the guru, we say in Guru Puja, Divya Gyan Hruday Prakashita. Many times I used to ask Gurudev, should we read the scriptures? Otherwise we are singing every day Divya Gyan Huday Prakashit. It will automatically reveal to us. Then Gurudev said, yes, to understand Krishna you have to read. But Swadhyaya is not enough. You have to do Vaishnava Sangha. So along with Swadhyaya, Vaishnava Sangha is also required. So that is why this particular sloka, Krishna says that you need a spiritual master, and from him, if you learn, then this knowledge you can acquire. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, Krishna says towards the end of it, it's in 27th and 28th verse. Yeah, those two verses. So that suggests that Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makha, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva para Jnana, Vasudeva para Jagya. So all these yes. So Veda, Jagya, Tapa, every Kriya. So all these activities. So once one understands everything is Vasudeva, so then he comes to the topmost platform of knowledge, and then he is qualified to understand. So understanding is more important than just simply reading. That is why Prabhupada is using the word like hugs. So there are 4 types of listeners, like many of you are sitting here. Some of us are very nicely enjoying the sleep post Pandriyal. Pandriyal we call medical terminology. After eating, we feel very sleepy. So I heard from Sarvabhauma Prabhu, he used to give that nice examples. There are 4 toys. One toy seller was selling, and they look very much similar. But if you ask the cost, the first one is 1 rupee, second is 10 rupees, next is 100 rupees, next is 1000 rupees. So he said, why the cost is so different? He said, if you put a passe wear, it will go into the ear, but it will go further. That means the listener should be very, very attentive, one pointed attention, and it is to be from the right source. Like Sanatana Goswami says, if somebody drinks the milk from a snake which has touched the milk, then it becomes poisonous, right? So he will die. Normally milk is like a nectar. So similarly, here we have to hear from the authorized source. That is what Prabhupada is meaning here. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a very nice, that all these philosophers like Mayavadis, Nirakarvadis, and then Patanjali's, all these, there are 6 darsanas, I think, Gautama, and then all these. So their knowledge is covered by Maya. That's what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling. That is why they are bewildered by this knowledge. Though they read many times, they can't understand the real Gudha Tattva. That's why it says Tattvataha. Jo jānāti Tattvataha. Tattvataha means in truth. So unless we take shelter of a guru and serve the spiritual master, it is not possible to understand the essence. So that is why he is using the word asammūḍho. Asammūḍho means a devotee. The asammūḍho here, the word meaning is a devotee. He is never bewildered. A devotee is never bewildered. He is never confused, right? By these, all these, when they have to argue with Mayavadis. Many times, all ISKCON devotees, we go to some, interviews like Amog Leela Prabhu, they have to argue with other philosophers, and they have to defeat them on the scriptural basis, right? So that is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is using asammūḍho. So even they are studying scriptures for many lifetimes, many years, they cannot catch the essence of the scripture. Whereas the devotees, they are beyond all these. Simply by performing devotional service, all these knowledge are automatically revealed. There are 3 types of knowledges. One is acquired knowledge, which we read by reading the scriptures. The second one is by, that is called, first one is, revealed knowledge. Revealed knowledge means by simply doing devotional service, automatically all the facts, all the knowledge of Krishna is expressed in the heart. I know many of my God brothers, recently we are discussing yesterday while I was reading this purport. I said, Prabhuji, you don't know how to recite a sloka. You don't know how to give a class. But how you are so advanced? My Guru Maharaj said, you have to learn from him. So why? Because by this service, itself, the engagement, A, B, C, D, E, that E means engagement. So that engagement itself purifies the soul, And everything, Krishna is there in everybody's heart, but our knowledge is covered by ignorance. So by this service itself, the ignorance, the curtain is removed. Then all the knowledge is automatically revealed. So that's what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling. So then what happens? Once the knowledge is revealed or the covering is gone, then automatically spontaneous devotional service, Raganuga Bhakti. This in Vrindavan, mostly people do Raganuga Bhakti to this Radhacharan Upasana, which is actually Raganuga Marga. But Prabhupada thought we are not qualified. That's why he has given this Lakshmi Narayan Upasana. We do this Vaidhi Bhakti. First we get qualified after getting purified by doing Vaidhi Bhakti, then gradually from Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, all this, then Anartha Nivritti, then Nishtha Ruchi Asakti, then Bhava and Prema. So once we reach to that Prema stage, then all this, that is Ananya Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti, so all these things are revealed. So that's why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, then one can go to the platform of pure love of Godhead. But other persons, Krishna says, they are not my devotees, even they know so much Shastra and all. Then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he also gives the similar commentary on this. He says, once one understands all these, acquires this knowledge of Krishna, what's the result? What he does? So he becomes so enlightened. So there are various definitions of bhakti, but those who are foolish, mudha, Krishna is asammūḍho, the opposite is sammūḍha. The opposite word of asammūḍha is sammūḍha. That means those who intelligence covered by maya, naradhama, maya, aprahata jnana, mūḍha, asura, these four, they never surrender to Krishna. Actually this sloka, today's sloka and tomorrow's sloka, it says how to surrender to Krishna. I think the last three classes, 16, 17 and 18, these three verses, that is what Baldev Vidyabhushan says. The meaning of these three verses, that if somebody has understood this, that means he is in perfect knowledge. So the first is the 16th. 16, 17, 18. The 16th, there are two energies, right? Para and apara. One is conditioned, one is liberated. So that is sloka's essence. And the 17th sloka, Krishna says, what is the objective, what is the goal of a yogi who meditates the Vishnu Murti, Khirdokasai Vishnu in his heart, that is the super soul, right? So like that, then what is their goal by meditation? They also understand that the super soul is beyond this para and apara sakti. Para means that conditioned are liberated. Beyond that, that is the super soul. But the third verse, which you heard yesterday, that is the 18th verse, it says, actually there the supremacy of Krishna is mentioned. That Krishna is the topmost, asammūḍho. Nobody is superior to him, nobody is equal to him. And in many, many places, in 10th chapter, Krishna says, everything is strung with me. In the entire Vibhuti Yoga, Krishna says, I am Himalaya, I am this Samudra, and sea, I am the amongst men, I am the king. So like that, Krishna gives all the description, detail. Then he says, my opulences are unlimited. What is the point in telling in detail? So you just hear that everything is strung they are resting upon me, just like what do they call it? Thread. There is a thread and there are so many pearls that are strung to this thread to make a necklace, right? So like that, all the entire creation, both spiritual and material, they are resting upon me. So there is no point in explaining in detail. And also Krishna's Vibhuti Yoga, when Arjuna says in 10th chapter, Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Puruṣam Sasvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vimam. So Arjuna also says that Krishna, he says, you are the supreme. So even after telling that, then Arjuna is asking Krishna to show the universal form, because again the same speculators, the philosophers, they will argue, oh, Krishna might have told about himself, so let him show the universal form. There was one fellow, he was in South India, someone in Hyderabad. He also came with big hair, with beard. He said, I am God. So they said, okay, can you show your universal form? He said, fine, let us go to a big field there. So then they went to the field, and then suddenly there was some rain. And he said, oh, and rain is there, I cannot show my universal. So like that, so many philosophers, they make people fool out of it, and they show some magic, some Ashtanga Yoga and all. So like that, we mostly see people getting cheated. So that is why, so if somebody has understood these three verses, 16, 17 and 18, where the supremacy of Krishna is mentioned, that means he has understood the essence of Veda. So what is that essence of Veda? That is Vedanta, Vedanta Sutra, right? So that is what Baldev Vidyabhushan is saying. So unless one understands these three slokas, he can't understand Krishna in full, which is the essence of today's words. So then he can understand the position of Krishna as the Supreme Person. Right? He is Sada Aishwarya Punna. There are so many incarnations which come out of Krishna, but Krishna displayed all the 6 opulences in full. Right? So that's why he is called Urukrama. Urukrama means he displayed suprahuman activities in his Leela. You can see he can expand asammūḍho. From one he become many, and from many to one, like that in Brahma Vimohan Leela. But by our own speculation, by our own efforts, we cannot understand. Like Lord Brahma, while Lord Brahma was created, he was sitting on the lotus flower. It's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Lord Brahma could not understand who is the creator, why he was created, what is his function. Then suddenly he tried to find out the source who has created him. So he thought, let me go to my source and he will tell what is my duty. He was complete ignorance, darkness, everything. He could not see anybody. So then he dived into the stem of the lotus flower. He started swimming for 100 celestial years. In Brahma's, one day is 43 lakh years into, if you multiply by 1000. There's 1000 Divya Jiva. There's 12 hours of Brahma. So you can imagine one day is into 2. So like that, 365 days is 1 year and 100 years. That is the lifespan of Brahma. So whole lifespan Brahma was swimming, but he could not find the route. Then he again came back to his position. Then suddenly he heard a word tapa, do tapasya. Then after he did tapasya, then everything was revealed to him. He could see directly the Golok Vrindavan. He could see the Vaikuntha. So nicely he has prayed this Brahma Samhita prayer, where everything he has mentioned. That what is the shape of the Vrindavan, how there is 1,000 petal, lotus flower, what are the different places where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing Leela. So all these dham, Madhurya dham, Vaikuntha dham, there Aishwarya dham, everything Brahma has very elaborately described. So it's all by tapasya. So unless one gets the mercy of Guru and Krishna, by his own effort one cannot understand. That's what Baldev Vidyabhushan he says. So one thing is, asammūḍha means he is free from doubts. Why doubt comes? Because of the sins. Unless we are completely sinless, te tantagatam papam, je punya, tantagatam papam, he has completely stopped his sinful activity. Then only one can understand. Then he can do drudha bhakti. Te danda moha nirmukta, bhajati imam drudha brataha. Then he can do drudha bhakti. So that is very important. So then there are various types of worshippers. Baldev Vidyabhushan next says, they never understand Krishna. They just simply worship some demigod and, So they are called alpa medhasa. They are less intelligent people. They have some immediate prayer and sreya. They are interested in prayer. So that's why all these philosophical speculators, they don't even understand the constitutional position. That's what Prabhupada starts his purport. And then what to speak about Krishna. So in this verse, Prabhupada says the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, he is mentioned by Krishna himself or his bona fide representative. So that is very important. And the imperfect knowers of the speculators, Prabhupada says, they have no perfect knowledge, they are simply wasting their time by all these speculation. Speculation means imagining. Oh, it may be like this, it may be. So we have to follow the acharyas as it is. So let us see what are in the first chapter Bhagavad-gītā. Krishna in 3 places he has been mentioned as the very dear about the godliness of Krishna. One is Achyuta. The word Achyuta means he never falls down from his position. And Krishna became a chariot driver of Arjuna. And he assured Arjuna that don't be worried, if you fight for me, you are going to win. And it is my assurance that you are going to be the king of the world. So like that, that was the purpose. Krishna came. Jada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharat. Abhyuttanam dharmasya tadatmana sujamya paritrana sadhunam vinasya duskrutam dharma sanstapanathaya sammohan. So for establishing the religious principle, Krishna came. So that's what he did. In the second chapter, if you see the bhakti suchak, it is in a neha abhikramanasya, and that means that bhakti is abhinasi. It never get destroyed. It is forever. So whatever we do bhakti, it is our permanent asset, right? It will get carried forward to the next life. So like that, so in Bhagavad-gītā, if you see second chapter also, then abhyavicharani bhakti. Abhyavicharani bhakti means Krishna says sthita prajna. Then 54 to 72, these verses. And he says, Nistraigunna bhavarjuna, go beyond the three modes of material nature. So bhakti is always in the Suddha Sattva platform. So in the second chapter also, because Prabhupada says in every chapter, in every sloka of Bhagavad-gītā, the bhakti is mentioned. So one has to be meticulously, scrutinizingly study Bhagavad-gītā under guidance of his spiritual master. Then he can catch these points. So there are certain slokas which are exclusively mentioned in Gita, which depicts the Kevala Bhakti. Because unless we go to the Kevala Bhakti platform or the Suddha Bhakti, not the Pradhanibhuta or Gunibhuta, that is mixed Bhakti, that is not enough. So in the third chapter also Krishna says, whatever we do for Vishnu, it doesn't bind us to the material world. It is called akarma. Karma, vikarma, akarma. Akarma means whatever for Krishna. Like I was a medical man before. I am serving the devotees here. Of course, it's niskam karma yoga because I have no expectation. But at the same time, whatever activities I do, I am not liable for the, papa or punya, sin or the pious or impious activities. So it is bhakti, right? So that is what called Krishna karma. Krishna karma. In the 11th chapter also Bhagavad-gītā, slok number 54 and 55. These two slokas also, then there also it is Kevala Bhakti. Krishna karma arpanam. So whatever activities somebody is doing, somebody is managing the deities, somebody is managing the preaching work, or somebody is doing some administrative work. So all these works become Krishna karma. Krishna karma arpanam. So that is what in the third chapter also Krishna. Then fourth chapter, again Krishna says, that the first 10 verses, Krishna says, this is your bhakti yoga. Evam parampara praptam means all that same bhakti yoga Krishna has told, but all these unscrupulous philosophers, they mutilated. That is why he has to again tell, 40 million years back he has told to Vivaswan, sun god, then he told to Manu, and Manu told to his son ISKCON, and from ISKCON all these parampara has come, but again it was broken because of this. So that is why we, many of us have all these speculative tendencies. Even I remember, like in our ascending process where we study in colleges and all, things keep on changing. Every year new theory, new thesis comes. So but these spiritual facts, that never changes. That's what they say. That's why it is permanent. So in 5th chapter also, in the 29th words, Krishna says, Bhoktaram jagyantapusam sarva-loko mahesaram sudham sarva-bhūtānam gyantimam shanti murchati. So in that verse also, it is Kevala Bhakti. If Krishna is pleased, then one becomes peaceful. He is the enjoyer. Everything is meant for him, the material world, both spiritual world. So like that in 6th chapter also, Yoginam api sarvesam madgatana antaratmana bhajatam sardhavan bhajatemam swami-yuktatam. In that last sloka, that also depicts the bhakti. So like that, if you see the entire 12th chapter is bhakti yoga. And 11th already I mentioned. And 10th chapter also, all the vibhutis, Arjuna is asking Krishna is describing. That also depicts bhakti yoga. And in this chapter particularly, in this today's verse 19, it also indicates Kevala Bhakti, the devotional service. So the overall things that we have acquired today, understood, that without going to the topmost platform of knowledge, one cannot start bhakti. But if in case one meets a pure devotee who knows how to engage all the propensities of a living being, so somehow or other he comes to the temple and do some, even a sweeper or a cleaning work, whatever he does, so that automatically he can know Krishna. I have seen many devotees, they give so wonderful class. Unless we read the scriptures, we can't give any class. Like gopis. Gopis never went to school, but they are the topmost devotees. Like Prahlad Maharaj, he was a devotee in previous life. He was Sumukha. Sumukha means he was the Dwarpal. He was a gatekeeper in Vaikuntha planet. So when the devatas, the demigods, they came, he didn't allow them to meet the Supreme Lord. That's why he was cursed to take birth in a demon's family. So like that, if you see, and Dhruva Maharaj, he also had material desire. Once he was touched by the conch of Lord Vishnu, now all the knowledge got revealed. Right? So time is up, so almost 1 more minute. So I am going to conclude this. So the point we learned is the submissive hearing. We should not hear like a hog. We should not hear from many people. We should only stick to Prabhupada's books. Like day before yesterday, we were celebrating the Vyas Puja of our beloved disciple of Prabhupada, Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. He said very emphatically, do not leave ISKCON. So just stay and stick to the Prabhupada's teachings. Many people, they sometimes go and outside, they hear from other Babajis and all. Then they leave ISKCON. Then they become they're unloyal to Srila Prabhupada. So that warning is also here is giving Srila Prabhupada in his purports. So like that, the bhajati word is, bhajan means devotional service, bhaj dhatu. That means some practical engagement, that is important. Many times I see devotees, they just read and give classes. And many of the sannyasis, they criticize them. And during Prabhupada's time, they were going to collect funds and they were going to distribute books. But that's why the practical engagement 6 to 8 hours is required. So then, and Swadhyaya is also required, knowledge is also required, but practical is more required, more important. Because simply by serving Krishna and giving whatever body, mind and words for Krishna's service, automatically all the knowledge is revealed to us. So this sloka, tomorrow we are going to hear the Phalasruti. Phalasruti. So if you see, analyze the sloka itself, it says, whoever knows me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, that means he is sinless. And he is the knower of everything. Simply knowing Krishna means he is the knower of everything. That is what this sloka says. Then once he knows everything, automatically, spontaneously, he is engaged in my devotional service in all respects. So tomorrow we are going to continue this Phalasruti. So thank you so much for bearing all this. So I don't know whether it has made some sense to you. Maybe some corrections you can make or any commentary. Just 1 minute time. Thank you very much for bearing this. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद-गीता की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।